you clicked on this, you landed on this, you did it for a reason. I'm going to talk about love, not the sentimental version and not the romanticized version either. I want to talk about love in the way that your body recognizes as true, because many of us were taught that love is proven through closeness, sacrifice, intensity, or endurance. That if something costs us deeply, that cost itself makes it meaningful. But the body knows better. So here's the ground I want to stand on. Anything that requires self-abandonment is not love. It may be attachment, it may be desire, it may be conditioning, but it's not love. So I'm going to pull some cards from the tarot to help us expand this truth that's wanting to come in for you, the viewer, today. So Spirit, what truth about love wants to be named clearly right now? What truth about love wants to be named clearly right now? Okay, got two. The King of Cups and the Tower. The King of Cups is mastery in love. How he moves, how he or she moves through life and relationships as it pertains to love. And the Tower means that anything that is not true must fall and be rebuilt so that you can be in this King of Cups energy. So in Taoism, there's this principle of Wu Wei. And Wu Wei means non-forcing. The Tao doesn't coerce, it doesn't demand, and it doesn't extract. Water, we see the cups stand for water, nourishes everything, yet it does not cling. And this is the teaching about love, because love that forces, love that pressures, love that requires access to you is already out of alignment with the Tao. And when love is real, the body does not brace. The body softens. It remains in flow. And if closeness requires vigilance or explanation or endurance, that is not love. That is entanglement. So let's ask Spirit another question. Spirit, where is the viewer still confusing entanglement with love? Where is the viewer still confusing entanglement with love? Ooh, okay. Ace of Cups. Okay, I'm going to pull one more card. The Hierophant. So you are holding on to traditional views of love. And when people, even in our society, when we talk about love, we assume it's romantic. We assume it's like the Disney fairy tale or a romantic comedy, especially if you're a woman, because that whole conditioning is targeted to women. So the Hierophant can be old traditional ways of viewing things, and this is pure love. So it's been co-opted. Real love has been co-opted, and you still have some of these old ideas about what love is that's still deep in your psyche. So this brings up Buddhism's view in my mind, of attachment versus love, because Buddhism makes a distinction Western culture often avoids. So attachment is not love. Attachment arises from grasping, from fear of losing, from fear of being separated, fear of emptiness. Love, or metta, karuna, in Buddhism, wishes for the flourishing of life, pure, including your own life. This is self-love too. So if a relationship requires you to abandon yourself to preserve it, it's rooted in attachment, and attachment always produces suffering. So that's not a moral judgment, it's a structural truth. Love doesn't cling. Compassion does not demand access. So let's ask another question here, Spirit. What counterfeit of love is ready to be seen clearly? What counterfeit of love? Whoa, that came right out. We got the Seven of Swords, the card known as deception. So, wow. You are ready to see anywhere the Seven of Swords is showing up in your life, anywhere where your energy is being extracted, anywhere where someone has sold you a fantasy in exchange for your labor, anywhere where you are experiencing trauma bonds, where you get this idea that someone loves you, but then they're secretly taking things from you. You are becoming aware of relationships where you're being met with entitlement. They feel like they're owed access to your body, your time, your energy, or where it's transactional love. Okay, so I think the simplest way to tell love from its counterfeits, I'm just going to shuffle because I love shuffling, and it'll be ready for our next question. But so the simplest way to tell love from its counterfeits is love survives boundaries, and counterfeit love collapses under them. So what that means is basically like the other partner, if it's not real love and they're wanting something from you, they cannot handle a boundary. They cannot handle no. They cannot handle that without collapsing, or without them threatening or withdrawing to try to get control again. And so if removing access destroys the bond or the relationship, it was never love, okay? If your no ends it, it wasn't real, okay? If your no ends it, or threatens the relationship, or everything goes chaotic, it wasn't real love. Love adapts to the truth. It adjusts to integrity. So, I mean, think about a friendship. Like, if you have a really good friend and you have to cancel plans, or you have a boundary, or you tell your friend, like, hey, I can't meet with you tonight, or, I'm not going to be able to do this tonight, but we can do it in a week or two. A good friend isn't going to punish you and ignore you, or call you names, feel all butthurt, or they're not a good friend. How come we can make that discernment with friendships, but sometimes these romantic entanglements, because they say we've exchanged I love yous, now we tolerate behavior we wouldn't tolerate from a friend sometimes. So, okay, that's me going off, because I'm a relationship therapist and coach by day, and mentor, and then I do a bunch of other stuff by night. So I'm very passionate about that, and I got the death card. Yeah. So people who work with me, it's not for the faint of heart, because there's transformation when you work with me. So I'm going to ask a question to Spirit. What does true love look like when it's free from entanglement? What does true love look like when it's free from entanglement? I got the High Priestess. There's peace. Your heightened intuition. You feel more connected to the divine. You don't feel less. There's devotion to life. What else? What else? Forward movement with passion in your life. Your life doesn't stay on hold. You move towards your goals and dreams. Someone who loves you, really loves you, love is an action, not just sentiment that you say, oh, I love you. So your life moves forward in positive ways, in ways that feel good to you. That is what true love looks like. It's not that you put your life on hold and their life gets better. No, your life gets better. It's a mutual thing. And I think, when entanglement falls away, love does not disappear. It clarifies. It clarifies. Love becomes stewardship, care for what preserves life over time. It becomes clear. It becomes peace. If you look at here, there's a crown and the sword of truth. And it's not the absence of connection, but it's the absence of violation. Love becomes presence. That's this energy. Being with someone without being for them in a transactional way. Peace is not loneliness. Peace is what remains when false love is gone. You work together. You work and you build together. And love, yeah, the world. Love becomes devotion, not to a person who consumes you, but to life itself. Oh my gosh. Okay, now I'm going to gather these. Spirit, how do we live love without entanglement practically now? How does the viewer live love without entanglement practically? Okay. It might be going through a period of time where you don't show up in places, even if it hurts your feelings, where you're not going to be fed anyway. I mean, you're out in the cold sometimes when you're not in the relationship, when you have to go through a breakup, when you have to assert boundaries, and it stops you from feeling, at least in the here and now, that you're safe and warm. But sometimes safe and warm is a counterfeit. Sometimes we have to go through the 5 of Pentacles to get to the other side. How do we live love without entanglement, judgment, discernment, giving without depletion? So having boundaries, without guilt, boundaries. The 9 of Wands, the wounded warrior. It's hard in the beginning when you're changing your patterns. And people are not used to it, so be prepared for that. When you start showing up differently without the old agreements to love that you used to just go along with because we've been conditioned to, people are not going to like that. And you're going to have to go through maybe some time where you're the wounded warrior and you're feeling out in the cold. But trust me, as someone who's kind of gone through that, it's worth it. And the sun comes after. So romance isn't evil, but it's optional. Romance is one configuration of love, and often it's a poorly regulated one. So love doesn't need to be proven through risk. It doesn't need to cost you your nervous system. It can be equal giving and receiving, and there's a lot of extraction that happens. When these 50-50 relationships, you can't just look at what the tangibles are, because there's so much, especially women that give so much invaluable, that the mental load, the emotional labor, the spiritual labor, the home, the creation. We literally have wombs in our bodies. And this is not to disparage men, but it is to kind of bring clarity and truth to the state of things. Like, women are often still exploited very much in relationships, but healthy love, whether it's romantic or not, does not need to bind you to be real. And if romance can exist without self-abandonment, it can align. It may align with love. But if it cannot, it's not love, regardless of how intense it is. Sometimes intensity doesn't mean that it's good for us. It means we need to have boundaries, hold our ground sometimes. Something real is being threatened often. So I guess kind of coming back to the Tao doesn't bind, and compassion doesn't cling. Love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. And if it costs you your body, it isn't love. If it collapses under your boundaries, it wasn't real. And if it requires your disappearance, it's not devotion. So this is love without entanglement. So Until next time, stay wild, stay sovereign, and stay untamed. I love you.